That pop sound of a taser being fired, and the inevitable cries of pain that followed from the recruits of the Frederick Police Department's academy, marks their 8th week of training. It was just prior to Thanksgiving, and the recruits of Academy Class 59 underwent certification for both using a taser and pepper spray, which included not just testing, but also being exposed to both. One by one, they stepped forward to take their turn on the mat, held by 2 peers who would guide their seizing bodies to the floor as they received 5 seconds of electricity delivered by 2 probes shot into their back or leg.
So what we try to do during the training is we try to give them different types of situations and probe placement hits, and to see how effective or ineffective they are. We do this before the actual classroom portion, because what we don't want to have happen is the students be distracted during the classroom portion, worried about the actual exposure part of the day. So we get the exposures out of the way, and then we're going to sit down and then we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about our general orders and the law and what's expected and required of them when they use this weapon system.
Officer San Angelo says new case law elevated the taser to a higher level of force than it had been in previous years.
So right now, the level of force is considered somewhere between impact and deadly force when we talk about that. So what we teach is we limit the use of the taser to those subjects who are an active threat to the officer. Okay? So we're not going to use it on passive resistance. If somebody's just trying to run away to get away from us, we're not going to use the taser on them.
What they're looking for, San Angelo says, is neuromuscular incapacitation. That is, when the subject's muscles lock up and they can't continue to fight. The further apart the probes are when they hit, the more muscles are affected.
The goal is not pain in and of itself. The goal is that neuromuscular incapacitation.
The day after recruits got their turn experiencing the debilitating pain of a taser, all 5 seconds of it, they lined up outside to experience a less crippling but longer-lasting type of pain. Recruits in the FPD Academy, regardless of which law enforcement agency they will ultimately work for, must also undergo direct exposure to a type of pepper spray called oleoresin capsicum, otherwise known as OC spray. After Officer Dan Sullivan carefully sprays the agent across both eyes of a recruit and then forces them to open their eyes to be sure that they get the full effect, they are sent through an obstacle course while the OC spray takes full effect. Their first stop requires them to deploy their own pepper spray and spray a dummy across the effigy's eyes. The next 2 stops had them performing knee kicks and elbow punches into the pads held by fellow recruits. Then, after repeatedly hitting another pad with a baton, they had to weave their way through a set of cones. Their final challenge was to force their eyes open so they could identify whether an instructor was wielding a fake gun or knife and then order him to drop it. Only after they successfully completed the course were they allowed to flush their eyes out with water from a garden hose.
So the reason we OC expose our students to this and any other person who's certified to carry OC is, one, it reduces the usage of OC spray. It allows them to fight through it if they're exposed to OC spray. This allows them to understand what the suspect's going to experience, and allows them to experience the agent so that they know they can fight through the agent if they're exposed to it and continue to do their job. It's absolutely miserable. You get involuntary closure of the eyes, which are called blazospasms. The oleum capsicum is a regular pepper that's ground down into a fine powder. That powder/crystal gets in your eyes and it cuts off your lacrimal gland, or what I call your cry gland, which is where your tear ducts are. It dries out your eyes, so it causes that instantaneous blazospasms, or the involuntary blinking of the eyes, so vision goes away immediately.
The third effect caused by OC spray is to irritate the lungs, which, while not affecting the amount of oxygen one can take in, it can have the effect of inducing panic.
It's unpleasant all the way around. Officers don't want to spray somebody because they don't want to be exposed to it. And the other thing is, like, I don't necessarily want to do that to somebody unless I absolutely have to, because they know how miserable it is.
On this day, Peter McAdams, a recruit for the Frederick County Sheriff's Office, was exposed to OC for the 3rd time. He said it does not get easier with repeated exposure.
It sucks no matter what. It feels like my face is on fire. It is one of the worst feelings I've ever had. Taser, I'd say, is actually a lot more painful, but the OC really like incapacitates you a long time, because I'm still, you know, it's been probably a half hour and I'm still struggling to keep my eyes open. It makes everything really hard to do. Whole face is burning, whereas with the Taser, it's 5 seconds that really stink, but as soon as it's over, it's over. Any day I'll take a Taser over OC.